If you're deciding which universities to apply to in the UK, there's a lot of things to consider. You've got to look at locations, acceptance rates, entry requirements, and that's not even considering the content of the courses themselves. It's a lot, and it can be overwhelming. But there's one factor that universities specifically like to promote more than most others: rankings. You'll often see signs and social media posts from unis claiming to be the #1 in the UK for this or that. But what does it all mean? In this video, we'll be exploring the basics of what university ranking tables are, how they're made, and if they should actually be trusted. So, you may or may not have already looked at a few university ranking tables before watching this video, but let's go back to basics so we can really understand what they're about. In the UK, there are a number of university ranking tables compiled each year, but 3 of the most trusted ones come from the Complete University Guide, The Guardian, and The Times. 2 of these are newspapers, while the other one is an organisation dedicated to higher education. Some of these tables have been produced since the early 90s, so this is certainly an established practice in the UK. There are now over 160 universities across England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, so these organisations put a lot of work in to create these rankings. Each ranking is based on a variety of data points rather than subjective opinions. Some of the key factors include student satisfaction scores, research quality, staff-to-student ratios, entry requirements, course continuation, and graduate prospects. Each table will also have unique metrics that they consider, but these are the primary points that you'll see in every ranking table. Beyond the overall ranking tables, they also compile separate rankings for each major subject taught in universities. These cover big ones like medicine, law and economics, all the way through to more niche courses, so whatever you're planning to study, there's probably a ranking table for it. For those searching wider than the UK, there are also plenty of global ranking tables available, including QS Top Universities and Times Higher Education. These don't generally consider less popular universities in the UK, but it's interesting to see how the UK's top universities fare against the best in the world. But speaking of the UK's top universities, what do these ranking tables generally consider to be the best places to study? While there's rarely a unanimous top university across every table, there are certain places that will always rank near the top, at least on the general table. Firstly, the obvious ones. Oxford and Cambridge are often considered the best universities in the world, and that is usually reflected in these tables. Obviously they can't both take first place. Well, technically these tables can include joint positions, but that doesn't happen often at first. But there's really not a clear consensus on which is better. They both may take first place on 1 or more tables each year, although they aren't always on top, especially in the subject ranking tables. 2 other universities that frequently appear in the top 5 are Imperial College London and LSE, 2 more G5 universities. The final G5, UCL, doesn't usually perform as well, although it is still frequently in the top 10 at least. Of course, all of these universities are Russell Group members as well, and other members that are frequently near the top include Durham, Warwick and Bristol. It's not just Russell Group universities at the top though, as the University of St Andrews and the University of Bath also perform very well generally. The lowest ranked universities are a lot less agreed upon and can really vary from year to year and subject to subject. These are usually lesser known universities, such as those in smaller towns or alternative universities in major cities, particularly in London. In fact, one London-based Russell Group university has even been seen near the bottom of a few subject-specific ranking tables, King's College London. This primarily happens in the Guardian's tables, though it should be noted that the university doesn't do too badly in the general table most years. But speaking of subject-specific tables, let's quickly touch on these next. As I said, each of the ranking organisations produces its main overall tables, but they also produce dozens of subject-specific tables in the same style. The variety of subjects covered can be far broader than you would expect. Of course, popular courses like medicine, law and economics always have their own table, but even degrees like game design, history of art and zoology all have tables as well. Some subjects will even have multiple tables, such as engineering, which has tables covering the many variants of the course. So, how are these tables produced? We'll cover this topic fully in another video, but let's quickly see where the data is gathered to produce these expansive rankings. Remember, data is the backbone of these tables, and all the relevant data points are collected from a number of sources. Across the 3 UK-based tables, this data is collected from organisations like the National Student Survey, the Higher Education Statistics Agency, and the Joint Information Systems Committee. These organisations record a lot of essential data, including student satisfaction ratings, research quality scores, university entry requirements, class sizes, and much more. Each table then utilises a unique calculation to provide a numerical score for each metric, which ultimately provides the final score and, thus, the placement in the final table. There's no subjective decision making used in this process, so that must mean these tables are completely accurate, right? Absolutely not. Here's why. While the data used in these tables is objective, the calculations used to generate scores are all different between the tables, which is why the rankings aren't identical between every table. More specifically, the methods of calculating the final score will tend to place greater importance on different metrics, as well as the actual considered metrics being slightly different between tables. All of this means that the results we see in the tables aren't 100% objective, as the data will have been interpreted in a certain way that likely favours certain metrics. So, can these tables even be trusted if there's potential for this variance? Well, they are useful, but they should be taken with a grain of salt. While exact placements of universities will change between lists and from year to year, they usually feature generally similar results in terms of which universities rank higher, lower, or towards the middle. It's rarely ever one-to-one, and there will always be exceptions where universities rank in very different places, but these tables help to give a sense of how good they are at teaching. The subject-specific tables are particularly useful for this. Every university has its strengths and weaknesses in their selection of degrees, with some low-ranking universities performing well in certain areas. The subject tables highlight these universities to show the places you may not have initially considered applying to. While these tables still have the same issues and variance, it's still worth looking through them when selecting your university options. But you should use a variety of factors when making these decisions. As I said in the beginning, entry requirements, acceptance rates, facilities, location, and many other factors should all be considered. So be sure to research any potential universities and degrees, as well as attending any open days if possible. So that's our introduction to UK university ranking tables. We at Uni Admissions hope this has been helpful for you, and be sure to subscribe for more on UK universities, particularly Oxbridge. Good luck with your university application.